What Republicans in Georgia have to do is give some sense of calm and some sense of reform to Republican voters so that they believe the system has been changed enough that maybe the deck is not stacked against them. Now, I agree that there need to be reforms because there are some things that have been done that I think are bad anyway. I do not believe we should have almost a full month of early voting before an election. I think that taxes resources. I think it can overwhelm underfunded boards of election. I think it can cause distraction. I think it should stop. I personally think we should have no early voting. I think everyone should have to vote on election day. Stand in line if you must all day to vote, but it's that important and you should do it. I do not think we should have unlimited absentee balloting. The reason is philosophical for me. I think that it is our civic duty to vote on the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November. And unless you're in the military or you're sick and enfeebled or too old to get out, you should go do it that way. It's what the founders intended. It is what our civic institutions require of us. It should be a national holiday, and we should all go vote. Stand in line and vote. People died for the right to vote. We should honor them by going and standing in line together to vote. This year was somewhat different because of the pandemic and the needs to not spread a virus around and the need to make people feel safe. And so I get a lot of the changes made. I think that our systems and institutions should make Election Day work. And make Election Day work not by making other days be Election Day for people. But we're not going to get rid of absentee voting. We probably won't get rid of no excuse absentee voting, and the reason Georgia won't get rid of no excuse absentee voting is because the Speaker of the House doesn't want to. And while I have lots of criticisms about the Speaker of the House over lots of things, I don't really criticize him over this because I understand his reasoning, and I think there's legitimacy to his reasoning. In North Georgia, a lot of voters who vote Republican vote absentee ballot. And when they made it absentee ballot for any reason, the number of Republicans who started increasing their absentee balloting went up to such a degree the Speaker of the House is afraid if you were to restrict it, you could cause even bigger Republican losses. So what do? What's the balance? What do? The governor's solution is tying in some way photo ID to absentee balloting and doing a couple of things. And here I think is where Republicans can and should go. Require that someone put their driver's license or state-issued ID on their absentee ballot application. Or assign a voter who wants an absentee ballot a PIN number that only they can use. 2, stop unsolicited absentee ballot applications. Every single person who's listening to me right now in Georgia got multiple absentee ballot applications in the mail. Ban that. 3, don't allow people to show up at your house with absentee ballot applications. 4, ban the Secretary of State from being able to unilaterally mail out absentee ballot applications or absentee ballots. You do those, absentee balloting is where people are going to see. This is why I've always been so dismissive of so many of you saw that video footage. By the way, you should know the footage you saw was edited. The commentary was edited around the editing. There was no fraud happening in that scene of the Fulton County people in the so-called suitcases that weren't actually suitcases. I mean, so many of you believe there were suitcases, and it wasn't, but you believe they were suitcases because you heard the narration and the media characterization of it, and it wasn't true. Those were the boxes, the secure boxes, into which the ballots fall when you pass them through the scanner. They don't commit vote fraud when the security cameras are running. The vote fraud comes from the absentee ballot game, when you're registering people to vote. So tie it to photo ID. Everyone who shows up and votes in person in Georgia has to have a photo ID. Tie that to absentee balloting. That's what the governor wants, and it makes a lot of sense. If you cast your ballot, you need a photo ID. Well, we're not going to make people make a photocopy of their driver's license. Why? Poor people don't have photocopiers in their house. I know that may come as a shock to some people, but a poor person has just as much right to vote as a rich person, and a poor person may not have a scanner in their house to be able to scan and print their driver's license. And the whole point of absentee balloting is that you can request it by mail. But if you're going to vote in person, you got to have a driver's license or a photo ID which has a unique number on it. So require that be put on the absentee ballot. And then at the Board of Elections, they can put in the number and pull up the picture of the person's license and verify the signature from it.